Terrific. Great.
Okay.
So, now, what was her name?
Well, it was Aunt Edith.
Aunt Edith.
She was a great aunt, but I love reading the greeting cards and looking at the pictures. This is back in the late 1930s and early 40s, and but she was sending us cards during the World War II. But when you grow up with this one, then you think, well, boy, I'd love to do things like that. So.
And well, let's go back a minute. Where did you grow up? Right here.
Right here. I was born in the house just one block north of here,
Okay.
and so I've lived here my whole life. And how I became an artist. My oldest brother Tom was killed in France in World War II. So I inherited his books when he wasn't able to come back, and I made a vow that I would make a difference in the art world. So that's where all this come from, and I helped start the Leavenworth County Art Association, and I always try to work with them and try to, then we started the sign company, and so we got, our signs are everywhere now. So Arrowhead Stadium and the Royal Stadium, and Tom changes all the signs out in the two stadiums all the time. So they've taken it on to a new level. 36 years ago, every job came out of the end of my brush. Nothing's hand lettered anymore. Everything is powered by a computer. So it was amazing. And then when our son Tom was born, then he had dark hair like my older brother did. All the rest of us three were redheads. And so that's how Tom got his name, because he had dark hair.
Where you say got his name?
Well, we named him for my brother.
Oh, right.
Because
right.
he had dark hair like my brother did.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So
When,
that's how we ended up in the art business.
well, but I mean, how did you become a real artist?
Well, by watching my older brother Tom, everything he would draw, I would draw it too. And then my first career, when I worked in a dairy, the whole place was full of corrugated boxes. So when I was pushing buttons and turning valves and processing stuff, I was drawing. I used to do caricatures of all 60 people that lived in the plant, worked in the plant, and so that was just part of it. So it was real easy. After I retired from that, I ended up in the sign business, because that was always my hobby. When I wasn't working in the dairy, I would be painting portraits and signs and everything at home, moonlighting at home.
Oh, yeah.
So our children grew up with that. When I learned how to do silk screening, when we would screen, didn't have enough stack shelves, and all the kids were runners. They would be on the bed, under the bed, everywhere, because I didn't have enough stack shelves when I do all these 30 by 30 prints or silk screens. So they grew up with it. It was real easy to end up in the sign business. It's all they've known.
Well, so there's the sign business, and there's caricatures and
Yeah.
portraits and all kinds of different things. So it's
Yeah.
not just been one thing.
Yeah.
It's been lots.
So after we got married, as soon as we got married, I thought, well, I'd like to be a cartoonist. So I took a cartooning course, and then I'd take by mail, I'd take silk screening courses, and I started. I took the commercial art course from that Norman Rockwell and Albert Dorn created, and I did that, by mail correspondence. And so after I finished it, and after that I thought, well, am I any good or not? And I'd never been around anybody else that was doing painting, so that's when I enrolled in the Kansas City Art Institute. And so I went down there in the evenings probably for about 10 years doing portraits and advertising design, which ended up got me in the sign business, I think, probably. But it was fascinating. There's always something else to learn.
What are you learning now?
Oh, I'm trying to save everybody's life now.
How's that?
Well, I make colloidal